your part, and so after I cut down from this song, you guys will go directly into your piece.
I think this one belongs to
These
you.
microphones are pretty
It's okay,
pretty
we can
quiet, so you
switch.
just need to be about a mouth, like a fist away.
So the music's gonna come down, then it's your time to talk.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Michelle and I'm joined by Erica, Shijen, Chung, and Alyssa. For our segment, we'll be discussing the impacts that social media has on activism and social change efforts. The 5 major topics we are covering are the history of activism with and without social media, the pros and cons of social media, trending news and post prevalence, local hashtags and communication, and finally, global activism through hashtags. Keeping all of this in mind, we want to propose that with the help of social media, activists have created a platform for outreach and opportunity for discourse about the major issues of today. Hey Chung, can you tell us about what the world was like before the wide use of social media?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. Have you asked yourself what life would be like without social media? The use of social media has become popular around the world. According to What Would the World Be Like If Social Media Didn't Exist by Marcia G. Fider, it connects people in a way that they have never been connected before. Social media gives people a platform to engage with the public. Life without social media is another story. People choose friends that they want to be with instead of receiving tons of friend requests on Facebook. If social is the only word that separates media from social, it would become the term of public, which means people usually enjoy outdoor activities and make new friends in their real life. Moreover, Mark Andrejevic, the author of Digital Labor, gives the evidence from the reading that your personal information is used for target marketing campaigns. So, the information we share with major companies when we use social media. Without social media, people do not have the ability to connect and expand their network on such an expensive way. With social media, this is a mystery because we do not know who is the one we are going to meet, and the only thing that we can see about that person is their social media site with some photos and lack of information. So people can have a lot of friends on social media, but real friends are rare. Without social media, people read news through the newspaper, watch TV, and listen through the radio, but life changed because social media updates news faster than before, and people can promote their business through social media instead of using television communications and newspapers. So, social media has changed the way that we live, and it is hard to imagine life without social media. However, don't let social media control your life, so you will have to work more and less get distracted by social media. So, Shijen, what are the pros and cons of using social media?
Thank you, Chong. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chong. There are right and wrong ways of using social media. I found a pretty good article that talks about the social media movement from two authors, Hai-Sing Huan and Kyo Kim, Social Media as a Tool. Based on my research, social media is a way of communication through an online platform that can reach a large group of participants. It is easier to interact with more people and to share information. Fuchs said, the internet has a long time support process of cognition, communication, and collaboration. People can easily sharing things on internet with the popular social media they have, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Also, going through each other profile and posts can easier to decide if this is the right person with whom to maintain a relationship. People can receive message and news much faster than the past when only using paper delivered message. Moreover, Andrew Richards said the value generated by users whose contribution help build the economic value of social media service such as Facebook or early on, internet products such as America Online. Through social media, we can extend our friendship and do business. There are many people I know who tend to work at home and most of them are going through social media. However, the mainstream media are sharing through social media may not always get positive comments. Rauch said, not enough government regulation, as social media can access from people all over the world and it might not have the correct spirit of the news. Just like Wikipedia, which is a basic dictionary for people to search many things, they do not contain 100% correct knowledge. It is an engine which collects information for both scholar and random people. Also, information on social media is usually free, which is one of the main reasons that got so many popular. At the end, social media is whether a healthy public sphere or not has to depend on how people using them. Michelle has more in-depth views about the influence of social media on the public sphere. That's as her opinion.
So, speaking of social media, it's more present than ever today. 1 billion people are on Facebook. Some videos there get thousands of views per minute, others not as much. What we see as a huge influence to why media like videos gain so many views is the prevalence of a post, or its popularity. This is important to its thrive and outreach of viewers in the future. This is how citizens in our democratic system access information that allows them to initiate socio-political changes. One big factor to take into consideration is that there can be a power disparity between the order in which users come across posts, tweets, or news in their organic content. What makes a post ultimately stand out and appear first is its position within a platform. Once a user opens or logs into their account, they're presented with either where they left off or at the top of their timeline or newsfeed. Many major social media sites, with the exception of Twitter's timeline, have transitioned from chronologically organized posts to personalizing the timelines of every account. Based on a Time article, this tactic was used to target users' interests thanks to data scientists that curate algorithms based on each account. In this article, he also describes Facebook's timeline as the most valuable billboard on Earth. And like everything else, with great power comes great responsibility, and in this case, facing controversy from how much Facebook knows about its users.
Yeah, I've also noticed the change in my Facebook and Instagram timelines. Now I see the algorithm guessing what I'm interested in, what I agree with, and what I find relevant. How is the concept of trending topics related to this reorganization?
Well, for those that visit a social media platform for the sole purpose of finding trending news, may venture to tabs and pages specifically sharing news, but even within those tabs, there's still a prevalence. That prevalence is sorted based on what's trending and what didn't make the cut or is aging out of date. An example on Facebook is a crisis response tab that shows natural disasters going around the world. For Twitter, it'd be the Discover tab, where trending keywords and hashtags are shown. Either platform, whatever is trending is whatever is catching the user's attention and vice versa. But what we shouldn't forget when we think of trending here is that it does not mean forever. Trending is only what gains popularity for a certain period of time. Independent News broke down the most common hashtags used in 2015. The most common one was hashtag Je suis Paris after the attacks in Paris. The second was hashtag Black Lives Matter, and the third was hashtag marriage equality. As you can tell, a couple of these are outdated from either receiving less attention or being resolved. Nonetheless, nearly all hashtags have the same goal of bringing awareness to an issue. Alyssa will delve deeper into some other influential hashtags and their effect on the public sphere.
Thanks, Michelle. Activists are using hashtags and trending topics to their advantage on Twitter. We can all recognize hashtag MeToo, Black Lives Matter, and the most recent popular activist hashtag, hashtag NeverAgain. Everyone has some basic understanding of what each of these hashtags represents, even if they're not on Twitter or actively participating in political movements. Author of Communication as Culture, James W. Carey, describes two different views of communication, transmission and ritual. Hashtag culture and activism through hashtags displays a ritualistic view of communication. A culture of participation, sharing, and commonness are fostered in ritual communication. Looking specifically at hashtag MeToo, those tweeting with this hashtag share their own personal stories of sexual assault or supporting their beliefs that a difference needs to be made. These people are sharing a common experience while spreading awareness to the issue. In regards to hashtag NeverAgain and the discussion of gun violence after the Parkland shooting, student witnesses and victims shared their stories and feelings with each other online. The conversation grew due to the media paying attention to the victims as they do after major tragedies. The students used that attention to their advantage to spread their message. Their use of Twitter allowed for an open discussion. Anyone on the platform can chime in with their views and stories. The Parkland students were able to use the platform to spread their message. Whether people agreed with the call for gun reform or not, they paid attention and participated.
I can definitely relate to that since I am an avid Twitter user, checking to the app every day and seeing firsthand which tweets are trending all the time. I engage myself by retweeting about the Santa Fe shooting and liking the tweets that encourage stricter gun laws. Even if I don't retweet some tweets, when I favorite them, they'll have a higher prevalence on my followers' newsfeed.
Yeah, I can absolutely agree with that. And while pertaining to social activism, Alyssa, do you find that there's a formula for change on Twitter, or do you think that that stuff just naturally occurs?
No, there's actually a formula created by the authors of Tweeting Social Change. Guo and Saxton reported there are 3 stages in advocacy on social media. Stage 1, reaching out to people. 2, sustaining people's interest. And finally, Stage 3, motivating the audience to act. We saw each stage happen simultaneously with #NeverAgain. Students raised their digital voices, did not let the media let go of their stories, and called for the common sense gun reform. It's easy to see why Twitter and hashtags work so well for activists to spread their messages. Social media provides the spaces for discussion, participation, and the sense of commonness, all needed to raise awareness of social issues. These characteristics are also seen in international activism on social media, right, Erica?
Right, absolutely. The use of social media is used to empower unheard voices, and it can be seen on an international level. The use of social networking sites for change is not limited to the United States. We have seen this through the Arab Springs, where when you watch movies like The Square, they use Twitter and Facebook to organize their parties. When in places like that, where they have limited or skewed access to the news, it's vital that they have the ability to use social media to organize. Going off of what Alyssa said, she was talking earlier about Carrie and about the ritualistic views of communication. We can see this transfer over to an international understanding. Carrie describes this as our natural thought, and often because of the lens that we view activism, in many of our cases, we end up seeing that our culture limitates the ability to fight activism on that level. And we don't take into account the international communications.
Erica, could you give an example of international hashtag on social media?
Absolutely. So in India, the hashtag I Will Go Out was created to start a discussion of power amongst women who felt over-sexualized in their society and are often feeling afraid of going out at night. Hashtag I Will Go Out was created to empower women to challenge the current male-dominant arena. In class, we talk about the distribution of power, and often in traditional media companies, they are held to one standard, white and male. With the power of social media, we bring voices to the table that often can go unheard. Social media allows for a place where a debate can occur and social standards can be challenged. It is through these challenges that activism can be organized and united under these hashtags. These international hashtags are here to organize people in ways that traditional media may not have been able to reach marginalized groups with lesser power. So in conclusion, we spent time today talking about the history of social media, how to use media responsibly, and the hashtags on a local and global sphere. We urge you to now think about how you are involved with your community activism. Do you personally engage on social media and reflect on how you see activist quotes go through? We believe that through hashtags and organizations through the Twitterverse and other participatory media, change is happening on a real scale much faster than the traditional methods.
Thank you so much for the live. Oh, I'm sorry. We are going to open it up now for questions from our live studio audience. What do you guys all think about social media and activism?
I'm sorry, to clarify your question, can you rephrase that really quickly? Oh, okay, there we go. So basically, one of the ways that companies on a wider scale are using or preventing that kind of behavior from starting are they find algorithm bots that will prevent certain hashtags and certain groups from expanding further. So Facebook is a great example where they publicly just talked about in a conversation with the Congress about how flag content such as like neo-Nazi content could be spotted through bots much faster than people are actually able to flag them by themselves. So one way that companies continue to counteract this are they have an AI system that is constantly organically figuring out ways to detect these issues before they're seen by the public. Do you have specific examples of ones that you think are affected by the organic changing? Yeah, absolutely. So I think the big part about how hashtag theory kind of just goes into context is that basically it supports things that are getting high volumes of engagement. So when there's high engagement, there's high eyeballs, right? Like they're focused on those issues. But when there are big issues that you're also trying to kind of combat at the same time, what you get is a lot of times certain things kind of go under the table at points because, like we talked about in class, it really depends on when those topics are brought up. So when there are major issues going on in the world, yeah, those topics are going to be talked about because they're kind of high key involved issues at the time. So unfortunately, that can be the downside, but it also ends up being a really positive thing for active change that's happening in the moment.
Thank you guys so much to Michelle, Erica, Shijen, Chung, and Alyssa for that great segment on social media and activism. Be sure to reflect upon your own use of social media and think about how you can be a part of social change on these platforms. And thank you so much for joining us for this special media mashup program on UWave Radio, taking you through the world of media and communication studies. Our music is by Jeff Speed, Devil Music, Claude Debussy, Martin Dubert, Only Meath, Hypervescent, and Ray Zane. And don't make sure to tune in to UWave Radio, your voice, your vibe at uwave.fm. And I'm G.
Hey, and I'm Emerson, and thanks to Ryan out in the live studio audience for working the microphone today.
And have a great day.